what people are going to remember about this part of history is about how we were all learning to use the technology that we have and how it spiraled so much out of really a lot of people's control.
In a way, the best thing about social media is how accessible it is. The worst thing about social media is how accessible it is.
Hi, I'm Emma.
And I'm Taylor, and welcome to Influence, the Got Your Back docu-series. This episode is called Like.
Today we are taking a look at social media, how it affects our lives, positively and negatively, and how we can get the best from it.
Our brains are constantly being stimulated by the things that are being put out on media, be they messages, images, videos, things like that, which can then cause harm to how you view yourself and how you view the world, and create some real inaccuracies about what you think is real and what's not real.
Some of the darkest points I've ever been in my life are due to social media and what I've absorbed on social media. But I'd also say that some of the best points of my life have been to do with social media. They've been sharing stuff on social media and the responses that I've had from that as well. Because especially in my adult years, my young adult years, I've had so much support and growth. I think it's become a lot easier as I've become a bit more mature to kind of detach emotions from social media as well.
Social media in terms of mental health is a complete mixed bag. I think it can be positive, and there's lots of really helpful stuff out there that can be quite validating for people to find people who understand them and what they're going through. And sources of support, I think social media can be used really well by services to kind of share where to go for help.
I think when I was a lot younger, social media was a difficult place to navigate. I felt extremely pressured to get likes and to be liked, and I was monitoring a lot of what my friends were doing, what they were posting, and how could I post similar to them and get the same responses that they were getting, but I wasn't getting them responses, and then that was affecting my mental health massively. It's definitely controlled how I felt growing up a lot, and I've been very conscious about what I'm posting, who's seeing it, and how I'm being responded to.
I was so fixated on followers and likes because I'd see the popular group at secondary school and they've got 1,200 followers and I've only got 700, and I'd be like, oh, how can I increase my followers? I'd follow 300 random people to try and get followers back, and then I've got random people I don't even know looking at my profile and caring about likes. I'd delete posts if they didn't have more than 120 likes, and just don't care about that. If you're posting a picture you're happy with, don't let the likes, the comments, the followers, or anyone tell you that it's not a nice picture, and don't delete things just because the engagement isn't what you wanted it to be.
Your experience online is entirely curated by the companies that earn those algorithms and ultimately their agenda.
So what determines which content is relevant? Social media algorithms that work with user data. The most important data are likes. Which topics does a user like? Does he or she prefer videos or text? Which posts are popular across the network? Algorithms can also glean private details users haven't shared on the network, like whether their parents are divorced. Algorithms use these data to select posts for an individual's feed. Conflicting opinions and too many details are withheld from the user.
Serious stuff.
But surely it can't all be bad. Taylor, tell me it's not all bad.
Of course it's not all bad, Emma, but let's hear why.
Social media can be a very addictive place, or it can be dangerous, or it can be somewhere that you kind of get consumed in, I think. And I think it's kind of almost up to you to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the positive sides of social media to avoid the negatives. I create recipes and post content on social media. I don't think it's about the likes and shares at all, really. It's just about, I suppose, using social media for good and bringing positivity into your life rather than just focusing on other people's lives. Originally I just posted some like bits and bobs on my personal account, like food that I'd made, and I had messages from people like, oh, this is really cool, like what's the recipe for this, like that'd be so cool to share it.
The dessert we are making are these chewy vegan flapjacks. These are delicious and full of energy.
And I was always really interested in like design and photography and stuff, so I started like photographing food and stuff like in a really cool way that I enjoyed doing, posting it more, and it just kind of came from that. So it wasn't really as much as me trying to push myself out there as kind of just doing what I enjoyed doing, and other people just kind of enjoyed it, and so I carried on with that. I feel like now I have a good relationship with social media in that I can kind of share who I am and like things that I like or things that might help other people, but definitely through time there's been like ups and downs to do with, you know, body image and other issues that a lot of people face with social media. I think social media for me is kind of personally somewhere where I like to be creative and like kind of, you know, show people my personality and stuff, and then through other aspects it's like opened doors and like given me so many connections that I wouldn't originally have. And I definitely think that my life wouldn't be the same as it is now if I hadn't have done everything that I have done on social media.
I think there are a ton of benefits to us as humanity having social media. I think just the fact that we have come so far in technology, that we have this amazing piece of technology that allows us to connect with everybody at once, is insane.
There's a lot of benefits of social media. I personally use it as a way to connect with everyone. Being someone who's obviously at uni, it's really good because I can connect with people from home when I'm at university. I can connect with people at university when I'm at home. If I'm feeling low, I'm more likely to Snapchat my friends or to go in like a group chat and like message people rather than saying to my friend, can I come round to your house?
You can find like new skills, you can find jobs, you can meet friends, you can show yourself off in a way.
It's easier to tell a wide range of people about your accomplishments without feeling like you're directly asking for like sort of applause or anything. It's quite good to just be able to be proud of yourself, and then if you get the response back, then that's really good too.
So I think that there can be some real positive ways that people use social media. I think it can be really helpful to help people kind of find their tribe and their interests, and whatever you're interested in, there is someone on social media who is doing that. So it can be quite validating and supportive.
Some of the best support networks that I have in my life are people that I've met through social media that are just interested in the same things that I'm interested in, and we support each other through that. So it's definitely a way of networking.
So we've heard about the upsides and the downsides of being social online.
But if it's such a mixture, maybe we need a little help to navigate it. Here are some top tips.
I think for young people, how to manage social media is a tricky thing.
If you're using social media for the first time, like just don't take everything seriously. In fact, take nothing seriously.
If I could speak to my younger self, I'd say that do whatever you want because people are going to hate you either way.
I think I got my first social media when I was 11, which is way too young. You know, that I shouldn't have been on it at 11.
Don't care about the likes. Really, just they don't matter.
And I'd just say, like, just be careful what you're looking at.
See it as an enhancement of your social experience. See it as a way to gain inspiration, and see it as a way to communicate with people you wouldn't usually communicate with.
So just do what you want to do, dress how you want to dress, express yourself.
Take a break and step back occasionally and realise that quite often that curated experience is curated.
Diversify your feed, I think is really important. Don't follow people who make you feel rubbish about yourself, and follow things that you're interested in.
Don't argue with people so much in comment sections, because ultimately, like, you're not going to change people's perspectives.
I think there are certain things to look out for. If you are a young person that starts thinking that they might not be quite in tune with where they should be in terms of social media usage. So the first thing I would be encouraging any young person to do is start looking at how many hours of your day are being spent on social media. And that's really tricky to do. I've tried this, but actually it's very easy to pick up a phone and flick through while you're eating or while you're drinking or while you're sat on the school bus and things like that. So it's hard to think about how much social media we use, but it's worthwhile just thinking, am I doing this instead of something else? The other thing I would say is start noticing if you're stopping doing other things for social media. So if you're noticing that you've stopped going to your local football club because actually you'd rather spend your time on social media, you probably need to think about what's that giving me and what's that taking away from my life. But it's picking out the things that you like doing and putting them back into your day can help you restrict how much you use social media.
Thanks for that, Katie. That's a useful checklist. And thanks for watching Influenced.
This series is brought to you by the Got Your Back editorial board, friends of Got Your Back and experts who support our work. See you again.